Us now to discuss this very important topic is Tennessee Congressman and House Foreign Affairs Committee member. There he is, Congressman Tim Burchett. It's so great to have you with us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm having a little trouble hearing you, so I might lean forward a little bit.
No problem. It's great to have you here. I want to get your sense, first off, that the European Union is warning Moscow that its forces would be, quote, annihilated by the West if Putin uses nuclear weapons in Ukraine. Your thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's about time for the European Union to step up. Financially, they were woefully behind us in our funding. Of course, I oppose the funding. I think it's very disingenuous of us being over there with what's going on in the world. I take it if a thug says he might throw some nuclear weapons out, I take that very serious, though. And the problem is this could have all been avoided if we would have just minded our own business and gone the diplomatic route. But we didn't. We chose not to, and we gave Russia the upper hand.
Do you think also, Congressman, when President Biden said, well, if there's a minor incursion, remember him using that phrase early on, do you think that also opened the door with Putin, too, and he saw weakness?
Yes, ma'am. And I think it showed President Biden's ineptness, if for lack of a better word, in handling international incidents. When he ran for office in the debates, he sort of bragged during the debates about how he could handle the international community. And currently we're a laughing stock in the international community. Our enemies no longer fear us, and our friends no longer respect us because of him. It's embarrassing to see him in public. It's embarrassing to see him on the world stage. And I think this is being amplified right now by seeing what's going on with Russia. You didn't have this problem under Trump. And yet they spent the last 2 years just criticizing Trump. I've said Trump's probably the best realtor in the country because he's living rent-free in all these radical liberals' heads.
What do you make of the fact that President Biden has definitely been throwing a lot of barbs at the GOP? And of course, everything seems to be Trump, 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 to your point, Congressman. And he even made the statement essentially that he is seen as much stronger and much more unifying on the world stage. Are you seeing evidence of that?
No, ma'am. And in fact, locally, I think the Democrat Party is so fractured because of his lack of leadership skills. And I think that's why people like internationally Putin and these world thugs. Look at China, what they're doing with the Uyghurs. Look at the Iranians. I mean, their government killed all those folks during a recent riot. And of course, the human trafficking that's going on at our border by these cartels, and with the fentanyl running in over our border, they know they can do it. And they get by with it because his words are hollow and they're empty. And really, we're a rudderless ship right now, unfortunately, international, due to his lack of leadership skills.
President Biden believes that he can beat Trump in a possible 2024 rematch. I want to play a little clip and get you to react. This is what he said in a recent CNN interview. Take a listen.
I'm not going to make this about my decision. I'm going to make this about this off-year election. After that's done in November, then I'm going to be in the process of deciding.
Is one of the calculations that you think you're the only one who can beat Donald Trump?
I believe I can beat Donald Trump again.
What's your reaction, Congressman? I mean, he seems confident that he can beat him again.
Ma'am, he's delusional. He is delusional. And the reason he won the last time is because 20 million so-called evangelical Christians really just stayed home because of some mean tweets. And I would suggest they go back and read their Bible and read about King David, because King David was pretty much of a dirtbag. He had his buddy killed and he slept with his buddy's wife, but he was a great leader. And we're going to have to start looking past all these things. And Joe Biden couldn't beat my dog Roscoe if I was his running mate. And I think he's just delusional about everything he does. His crowd, when he goes places, he bumbles, and it's just completely embarrassing. It's not just the verbiage; it's his actions and really I don't think he has the cognizant ability to lead this country anymore. And I believe the Democrats are looking they know they're going to take a beating this November, and they sure as heck are looking elsewhere because they know the vice president sure as heck won't fill that void. She's a nightmare of another degree. So I think Democrats are scrambling right now, and I'm sure Hillary's thinking she's waiting in the wings. She's too old, and I just don't think they have anything in their farm league. Maybe they can pull the governor of California, and he can do for the United States what he's done for California, and cause rolling blackouts and incredible spending packages. But really, they don't have anything.
You know, if the Republicans take the House in the midterms, and it looks like it's headed that way, and of course the midterms almost right around the corner, literally, it seems, as you know all too well, what do you think will happen in terms of investigations, and also what do you think will happen in terms of the January 6th committee?
Well, I think, first of all, the legislation, we know that if any formidable legislation gets put forth, the House and the Senate, and we have a very good chance of taking the Senate too. I think that you will see a lot of hearings because the president will probably veto anything that we would see as meaningful. So what we've got to do is concentrate on a couple of things. We've got to cut the funding off of these woke programs, and also these hearings are definitely need to. Homeland defense, things like that, what's going on at our border, and just the complete cover up there of these cartels and the human trafficking, I think is disgusting to Americans. The woke movement towards this transgender surgery and where these things are getting approved at what level, I think that all needs to be brought forth. But I have a lot of confidence in our Judiciary Committee because Jim Jordan will be the chairman of that. And as you know, he leaves no stone left unturned. And I actually look forward to that. But I think the one thing we've got to really be careful of is getting caught up in kind of a quagmire what this January 6th committee has done. They just run on and on and on. And miraculously, we're going to finish up and issue our report right before the elections. The American public sees what's going on with that, ma'am. And I don't think and more people are watching when they put one of their shows on that is orchestrated by a former ABC executive. More people are watching the Cartoon Network, the reruns of The Simpsons, than they are watching the January 6th committee. I knock on doors every day except Sunday, and not today because the Vols are playing Alabama, which I believe they'll win by 2 touchdowns. But
we're going to hold you to that.
Yes, ma'am. But not one person has mentioned January 6th.
No, and by the way, Congressman, that seems to be consistent. You're right. In many of the polls, it doesn't rank up there. Of course, it's inflation, it's crime, there's border, so many issues. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. We're really grateful to have you here today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and go Vols.
Thank you. We're gonna hold your prediction there. Thank you.